Islam. We want to welcome everyone to our Moorish Perspectives class, sponsored by Moorish American Government. Our host for tonight's class is our National System, Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shedwa Mintiel Moheji Sexual. And at this time, we're going to call forth our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shedwa Mintiel Moheji Sexual, to open our meeting according to law. Islam?
Yes, sir. Gratitude. Hold up. Let's see.
Unmuted.
Islam. Can you hear me, Grand Man?
Yes, sir. I hear you loud and clear. Islam.
Gratitude. Islamism without the schism. Islam. Moorish America. Want to rise upon the seven within the circle of justice, mercy, love, and right, the unbroken circle of justice, mercy, love, and right, and give all praises to the great God, Allah, Father God, Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution, and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything that our Holy Prophet brought to exhume us as a nation. But let us come forth with our ancient committee and adept Moorish American prayer. And as we come forth, we ask that you open up your hearts and minds as we open up the way. Islam, Islamism without the schism. Ya Allah abnu heru makuneteru, Ya Allah abhet heru, Ya Allah ma'at heru, Ya Allah hotep heru, Ya Allah heru, Ya Allah ma'at herakuti, Ya Allah ahwajet dajuti, Ya Allah per im sutek per im heru, Ya Allah bamaduti, Al-Hajjat Shepsis Ray Abtu Ali. Amin. Hariyas. And that is to say, Moorish kin in transliteration. O Allah, the Father of the universe. O Allah, the Father of love. O Allah, the Spirit of truth. O Allah, the Spirit of peace. O Allah, the Spirit of freedom. O Allah, the Spirit of justice. O Allah, you are my protector. O Allah, you are my guide. O Allah, you are my salvation by night and by day. O Allah, through your holy prophet, O Allah, Drew Ali. Amen. Aliyassa. Islam, Moorish kin. And now we come forth before you with the divine constitution of Moorish America. Salvation, our God, unity. The seven supreme constitutional acts of law. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of Moorish America empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs, if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. The bylaws. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7, in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh. On a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Subhanallah. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you're part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Acts 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slave holders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America. And now that this meeting has been opened according to the triune acts, Acts 1, 2, and 3, in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, we say Islam, Islam, Islamism. The providence of Allah is ever all his works. He ruleth indirectly with infinite wisdom. He hath instituted laws for the government of the world. He hath wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature conforming to his will. Shemo Tepu Moorish King. Peace and love.
Islam. Gratitude, National Assistant Grand Chief of Moorish America, for opening our meeting according to law. I am Divine Minister Dr. Marvin Elvis Spade, Consul General of the Texas Territory, rising, giving all praises to the great God Allah, the Father of the universe, and giving the highest honor to his prophet, our prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give high honors to our Moorish American government, our Act 1, and all of our officials and citizens of the Moorish American government, and everything that is Moorish, and that's everything that the prophet brought to save us as a nation of people, so that fallen humanity may be saved from the wrath of Allah. I will be reading chapter 24. YEHOSHUA explains to KASPAR the meaning of silence and the wisdom of Allah in man. Act 1. Now, in the early morning, YEHOSHUA came again to teach and heal. A light not comprehended shone about as though some mighty spirit overshadowed him. And 2. A Magnus noted this and asked him privately to tell from whence his wisdom came and what the meaning of the light. And 3. And YEHOSHUA said, there is a silence where the soul may meet its God Allah. And there the fount of wisdom is, and all who enter are immersed in light and filled with wisdom, love, and power. And 4. The Magnus said, tell me about this silence and this light, that I may go and there abide. And YEHOSHUA said, the silence. At 5. And YEHOSHUA said, the light is not circumscribed. It is not a place closed in with walls or rocky steeps, nor guarded by the swords of men. Ayat 6. Men carry with them all the time the secret place where they meet Allah. Ayat 7. It matters not where men abide, on mountaintop, in the deep vale, in the mart of trade, or in a quiet home. They may at one time fling wide the door of the soul and find the house of Allah. It is within the soul. Ayat 8. One may not be so much disturbed by noise of business and the words and thoughts of men if he goes all alone into the valley or the mountain path. Ayat 9. And when life's heavy load is pressing hard, it is far better to go out and seek a quiet place to pray and meditate. Ayat 10. The silence is the kingdom of the soul, which is not seen by human eyes. Ayat 11. When in silence, seven forms may split before the eyes, split before the mind, but they are all subservient to the will. The master soul may speak, and they are gone. Ayat 12. If you would find this silence of the soul, you must yourself prepare the way. None but the pure in heart may enter here. Ayat 13. And you must lay aside all fears and doubts and troubled thoughts. Ayat 14. Your human will must be absorbed by love divine. Then you will come into a consciousness of the holy breath. Ayat 15. You are within a holy place, and you will see upon a living shrine the candle of Allah of flame. Ayat 16. And when you see it burning there, look deep within the temple of your brain. You will see it all aglow. Ayat 17. In every part, from head to foot, are candles all in place, just waiting to be lighted by the flaming torch of love. Ayat 18. And when you see the candles all aflame, just look, and you will see with eyes of soul the waters of the fount of wisdom rushing on, and you may drink and there abide. Ayat 19. And then the curtains part, and you are where the ark of Allah rests, whose covering is the mercy seat. Ayat 20. Fear not to lift the sacred board. The tables of the law are in the ark concealed. Ayat 21. Take them and read them well, for they contain all the precepts that man will ever need. 22. And in the ark, the magic wand, for they contain all prophecy, lies waiting for your hands. It is the key to all hidden meanings of the present, future, and past. 23. The cherubim have guarded well for every soul this treasure box, and whosoever will may enter in and find his own. Ayat 24. Now KASPAR heard the Hebrew master speak, and he exclaimed, Behold, the wisdom of Allah has come to men. Ayat 25. And YEHOSHUA went his way. And in the sacred grove of Spirit, where the multitudes were met, he taught and healed the sick. Islam, Islam, Islam. And Dr. Marvin Edwards State, Constitutional Texas Territory. Today's date is April 12th, 2025. We give honors to our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Yehu Mikiel Mohetti Chebesuel, and for opening our meeting according to law. And honors to Dr. Marvin Elvis State, Constitutional Texas, for the reading of the chapter of the week of our Holy Quran and taking registration. Again, we want to welcome everyone to our Morris Perspectives class, sponsored by our Morris American government. Our host, our National Assistant Grand Chief of Morris America, subject Ayat 3 of our chapter 24, chapter of the week. We will now call to the floor our host, our National Assistant Grand Chief of Morris America. Are you there, God man?
Islamism, as close as a love thought, grand man. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. Islam.
Islamism without the schism. Gratitude with a divine attitude for all it is that you bring forth, good brother. Allah is leading on and victory is sure. Give me 1 second. Islamism without the schism. Having already risen, we continue to rise in ascension, giving all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything that our holy prophet brought to exhume us as a nation. Praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. And want to welcome you to another Moorish Perspectives. I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Mohadi Shabazel. My ancient Comedian high name being the same as Dr. Shedawa Menchi Muhammad Shepsuel. You know, and we want to definitely welcome you to another Moorish Perspectives. We got a grand drawing to bring on the manifest coming from our new chapter, YEHOSHUA Explains to KASPAR, the meaning of silence and the wisdom of Allah and man. Brother Marvin Edwards Bay, can you hear me from the computer as well?
Islam, yeah, I did earlier. Let me just verify that again.
I just want to make sure it's clear too as well.
Right, let me unmute it. Good. Yeah, can you say something?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I hear you loud and clear.
Okay, gratitude. For those who want to, the link is most definitely there for the stream yard. You know, we're trying to keep these apparatuses on point, you know, but Rome ain't built nothing to last. We'll just put it that way. There's always something going on with them. So, yeah, we have that link in the email if the Moors want to come on. Okay, so I got a question from a brother asking, you know, Mustafa Abdul Mutak BL. Okay, brother, you say you're divine minister. You say the numbers, yeah, definitely still active on our conference call. Go to the Moorish American government website and you can find it there. It's at the bottom of the screen. Okay. And mashallah, what we'll do after the end of this measure, we'll actually drop the link to the chat too, so somebody can tune in as well. So what we have is, again, we're dealing with Yehoshua, you know, explaining to KASPAR the meaning of silence and the wisdom of Allah in man. So when we go into the aspects of dealing with the wisdom of Allah in man, you know, that's something that a mere man can't give to you. Only the great God Allah can give you that wisdom. So praise be to Allah for allowing us to be fearlessly and marvelously made in this particular area. Okay, now let's go into our featured ayat. Our featured ayat, as it flows across the bottom of the screen as a banner, states there's a silence where the soul may meet its God, Allah, and there the fount of wisdom is. And all who enter are immersed in light and filled with wisdom, love, and power. So Allah's light emits wisdom, love, and power. This is the grand drawing that we are getting here. Silence has to do with retreat. Silence has to do with abstinence. Silence has to do with meditation and contemplation. Silence has to do with self-exile, away from the manifest, so to speak. All of us have been given this. Even in the Grand Quran, it asks the question, is not the earth spacious enough, for you pretty much to find your place, of silence, just to paraphrase. I want to go into a few definitions as we go throughout this special draw and dealing with our subject chapter. And it's going to be a powerful measure, as I stated earlier. So we encourage our Moors to have their paper and pen on handy. And for those of you who are watching, be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe if you already have it, so that we can boost the algorithm and get our people in here to participate with what it is that we are communicating. In this chapter dealing with silence, see, one thing about what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us, he brought us a universal wisdom. He brought us a knowledge and understanding of every teaching that you could possibly think of. That most people like to give a bad name. Some people, like to talk about what they call the occult and, a whole bunch of other madness. People feel what they don't understand. But the Prophet, in a nutshell, in this Moorish Holy Quran, brought measures that we are still unpacking in this new era and time. And in this case, we are actually dealing with this actual chapter right here. The wisdom of the Kabbalah can be found here, just in as it was in a few chapters that we came through before this as well. The wisdom of the chakras can be found right here in this one chapter, so to speak. All of that wisdom. And he did it in various different words. The wisdom of meditation and contemplation and what is to be expected when one goes out into the plane of, the astral light. We can say even the plane of soul. Why was man given a soul? That he might function upon the plane of soul. Why did creative fate gives a man a soul? So that he might function upon the plane of soul, and gave him a body of flesh that he may function upon the plane of things made manifest. So the things that we are able to acquire within the plane of soul, we are able to bring back into the plane of things made manifest. And this is how a lot of the wisdom unfolded to bring about structures of knowledge, such as the tree of life, the seed of life, like I said, the chakra charts, consciousness, the throne of divinity. There's so many different areas. We can go into the knowledge in the body. All of these things are veiled, so to speak, until the prophet came to lift the veil in this Moorish Holy Quran. And that's why he said he divinely prepared it. So we have the wisdom of the ages, all of the ages, when it comes to dealing with what it is that we're dealing with here. Everything is sacred knowledge. It is not a secret because we are manifesting everything that has been kept in secret openly. And that's what brings us into a grand expression of the work that we've been called to do. So we want to give praises to the great God Allah again, for sending us Prophet Noble Drew Ali, so that we may be on the manifest to do the work. So Going further into what has been given to us, our beloved brother spoke, and he spoke in reference to dealing with after the Magnus actually asked him privately to tell him from whence his wisdom came, YEHOSHUA, a neophyte at the time, he was asked, what's the meaning of the light? And YEHOSHUA told him, like I said, this is our subject title. There's a silence where the soul may meet its God, Allah. And there the fount of wisdom is, and all who enter are immersed in light and filled with wisdom, love, and power. So we're going to get into what that wisdom is. We're going to get into how it brings about the love and the power that it brings about. It is the wisdom in conjunction with the love that brings about what we call a sacred power, a saving power that has been given to us. The Magnus said, well, tell me about this silence and this light that I may go there and abide. And YEHOSHUA responded again. He said, well, this silence is not circumscribed. It's not a place closed in with walls or rocky steeps, nor guarded by the swords of men. You see? So this is not a place on the plane of things made manifest. In ancient Kemet, this place was known as Sekhet Allah, or Sekhet Anru, or Sekhet Alu, which was also known as the third heaven. In the Piscean records, this same place of silence was referred to again as the third heaven, where one was beheld to be caught up in the third heaven. And they say, well, we don't know whether this was by the body, or outside of the body, but one was caught up in the heaven. And we know there was a measure where it was stated that Elijah had not seen a physical death, and he was taken up in a whirlwind into the presence of the Most High, and that's a powerful demonstration in and of itself. A lot of people in the Christian doctrine will call this an epiphany, times where you can receive revelations and so forth and so on. So this is not a place, again, that is guarded by the swords of men. This is a place that is guarded by the scimitar of consciousness in all actuality. But yet men carry with them all the time the secret place or the sacred place where they can meet Allah. So you ain't got to go through meets and bounds. You don't have to go into basically trying to look for the great God, because he's already in you. You see? And that's the greatest wisdom that we can gain. Once we understand that the great God is within us, then we can move forward when it comes to dealing with how to access our divinity. Praise be to Allah. It goes on and it states, it matters not where men abide, on a mountaintop, in a deep valley, in the marsh of trade, or a quiet home. You can be in any one of these places. They may at one time fling wide the door of the soul and find the house of Allah. It is within the soul. There's a measure in Surah 24, ayahs 35 and 36 in the Grand Quran, Surah Al-Nur, Suratu Al-Nur. And it speaks of Allah being the light of the heavens and the earth. But it also says, lit, is such a light in houses which Allah has permitted to be raised. In other words, the house is elevated, but your consciousness has to be elevated in order to enter here. So Allah's house is not like a physical house that we have, and we go into that as special house. Allah's house, is a state of being, a state of consciousness. In fact, we learned that even the term Sekhet Allah, the place where Ra was said to actually go into his migration due to a stiff-necked, disobedient, heedless people, it said that Ra went into this place called Allah. So in ancient Kemet, we know the word Allah actually represents a state of being in close proximity, with the great God. It tells you in the Grand Quran that Allah is nearer to man than his very own jugular vein. It also states that he is nearer to man than he is to himself. So pay attention to the language that's being used, family. That's letting you know that the great God Allah is not some spook that's so far outside of the self that you can't reach him. But he is ever present, the omnipotent, the omnipotent, as they would call it. They would say also the omniscient, and so forth and so on. All of these represent the high degrees of unfoldment as it relates to the great God Allah, that omnipresence. So it is within the soul, which represents a symbolic consciousness, where we say the nearest place we can meet the great God Allah is in the heart. And we know this is not the blood pumping organ. So it says one may not be so much disturbed by noise of business. In other words, you are so focused, you are so conscious that the manifest does not distract you. And words and thought of men, it goes all alone into the valley of the mountain pass. And when life's heavy load is pressing hard, it is far better to go out and seek a quiet place to pray and meditate. That means when everybody in the world, has let you down, and, they have turned their back, in some type of way, then you ain't never alone. The great God Allah is ever present. And in most time, the great God Allah is doing that, but removing certain people from your life, so that you will have more focus on him. Some of our people are so selfish, to where they try to get in the way of the great God Allah. They won't even honor. They say they honor the great God Allah, but they don't honor the work that he has for you. And the great God Allah may have a work that's for you, that's not for somebody else, because we all have our own particular callings, a cause of purpose that we were called into. And there's nobody outside of your body, that can dictate and determine what that cause is beyond the great God Allah. Even prophetic men who receive wisdom from on high, revelations, books of revelation, books of wisdom, books of prophecy, you will never see them utilizing their station of prophethood to put themselves in a position, where they are to be the dictator, over the will of the people. Their duty was to aid and assist you in linking your will up with the deific will and becoming one with the great God Allah. Islamism without the schism. So it states that the silence is the kingdom of the soul, which is not seen by human eye. This is why we asked that question in our questionnaire. Can you see him? No. Where's the nearest place we can meet him again? In the heart. When in silence, phantom forms may flit before the mind. All of this really has to do with where one is along the way in their consciousness. It says, but they are all subservient to the will. Phantom forms really represent, in certain aspects, we can even say sadistic thoughts that flit before the mind. These are your thoughts. An angel is a thought of Allah made manifested in human flesh. But a devil or a demon can also be a thought made manifested in human flesh as well. So who will be manifesting that thought? Because Allah manifested love thought. Allah manifested, spirit. He manifested prophets. He manifested angels in the flesh. So who manifests the demonic or the devilish thoughts, these phantom forms, as they would call them, that may flit before the mind? It says, but they all are subservient to the will. What will? There's only one will. That's the deific will. And if your will is in line with that will, then these phantom forms that flip before the mind are also subject to you. So devils or demons, malevolent entities, they have no power over you. So it says the master soul may speak and they are gone. Well, who is the power, the authority of the master soul? The great God Allah, but you are the master soul that may speak, and cause these things to flee. When truth is on the manifest, falsehood flees. Allah is the truth and man is the truth. So if your will is linked up with the deific will, again, that's your power. All that going back to the love that we was talking about before. All that going back to the wisdom, that we were speaking of. If you will find the silence of the soul, you must yourself prepare the way. Nothing but the pure in heart may enter here. This is the reason why Prophet Noble Drew Ali told us we had to keep our hearts and minds pure with love. Your heart has to be pure with love divine. You see? That's the only way you can enter this silence of the soul. You must lay aside all fears and doubts and troubled thoughts. There it is. Your human will must be absorbed by love divine, and then you will come into a consciousness of the holy breath. So once we come into a state of love divine and divine love, then we become anchored in divinity. Then we can sail on smoother seas, so to speak, and come into the consciousness of what holy breath truly is. And then it says you are within a holy place, and you will see upon a living shrine the candle of Allah flame. What is a candle? If we were to go into the dictionary of symbols, it states that candles symbolize light. It says their wick melts the wax, and thus wax shares the flame, emblem of the flesh and the spirit. By ancient custom, virgins carried lighted candles in each hand. In countless religious rites, candles retain their phallic symbolism, the reverse aspect of the symbolism of the soul and of immortality. In Catholic ritual, there's a paschal candle and a tall candle set beside the coffin in the funeral ceremonies for a pope. In the 12th century, Eusebius Durandus explained this usage by saying that virgins carried candles to show that they were ready to receive the bridegroom. Like the wise virgins in the Gospel of Matthew 25, 1 through 13, he also points out the further symbol in carrying of candles. Virgins seeking to be like the light of the world. The symbolism of light has always played an important part in Christian thought. This ritual may have been borrowed from classical marriage ceremonies in which the bride was led in solemn torch-lit procession to the home of her husband-to-be. Bridegroom also carried torches. This custom is retained in Greece and among the Orthodox communities. In ancient Greece, candles were offered to the gods of the underworld as well as those of fertility. Pope Paul VI, in an audience to nuns in February, the 2nd of February 1973, gave a modern twist to the language of the books of ritual. Candles, he said, symbolize the pure and primal source of light by which none should be enlightened. Unwavering, the gentle, they are images of purity and innocence. They burn and give light and typify the holy devoted to burning total and unique love. Lastly, candles are doomed silently to burn away, just as your lives are consumed in the inevitable struggles of hearts which have renounced the world and self-sacrifice like that of Christ on the cross, and in the joys and pains of love which will not end with death, but which will shine forever in the everlasting encounter with the divine bridegroom. And we know the concept of the cross represents a crucifixion that most of us have been caught up in since we've been here in the West. Unfortunately, it goes further into a definition of candlestick as well. And it says the candlestick is the symbol of spiritual illumination, of the seed of life, and of salvation. Its cosmic symbolism supports its religious symbolism. It has as many branches, Flavius Josephus writes of the 7-branch candlestick, as there are planets together with the sun, while Philo of Alexandria states that it is an earthly imitation of its archetype, the celestial sphere. 7 candlesticks, 7 planets, 7 chakras. But it states the candlestick of the children of Israel was the same as the Babylonian tree of light. According to Exodus, and that would be synonymous with the tree of life, 25:31-2, of pure gold of beaten work shall the candlestick be made, and 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it, 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side. You've seen what they call a menorah. That's what's being described here. The 2 series of 3 embody duality. 3 bowls made like unto almonds in one branch, and 3 bowls made like to almonds in the other branch. They're speaking of the shape. The candlestick thus represents the almond tree. That is to say, the golden nut, a common motif in different cultures. The 7-branch candlestick of menorah I just mentioned undoubtedly stood in Zerubbabel's temple, Zechariah 4:1-14. It describes it in prophetic terms, leading one to suspect that its symbolism was based upon the stars and 7 planets or 7 heavens. The 7 lamps which it bears are to Zechariah the eyes of God. We know about the 7 eyes of Allah that are made reference to in our questionnaire. 7 being the perfect number, and they watch over the whole earth. 7 Elohim. The later Jewish writers such as Philo of Alexandria and Flavius Josephus, as well as some older rabbinical commentators, underline the symbolism explicitly to Philo, the life of Moses. 2:105. The candlestick was the heavens with the planetary system in the center of which blazed the sun. The central shaft represented the sun with 3 planets on each side of it. It therefore symbolized the Logos, the light of the world. And we know the Logos circle 7 represents the prophet, but each and every one of us represent a Logos circle 7 of this era in time coming forth from our families. So it says the passage in Zechariah also described the candlestick as being flanked by 2 olive trees, and we know the olive tree is also a symbol of Islam, Islamism, which provided a direct supply of oil needed for the lamps. It is therefore reasonable to suggest that the 7-branch candlestick perhaps derived directly from a sacred tree. It makes me think about in Surah 24, Surat al-Nur that I was speaking of, in ayahs 35 and 36, where it talks about lit as such a light in houses which are permitted to be raised, but it tells you Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. And it mentions a parable of that light, and it speaks of it, as being a lamp within a niche, and the niche, being engulfed, by a brilliant star, lit by a blessed tree, whose oil is well nigh luminous, light upon light, though fire barely touches or scarcely touches it. So This is powerful. So it says Greco-Roman parallels and branches, and depictions of the candlestick, admittedly of a later date, in which the branches are shown bearing leaves, would seem to support this hypothesis. To Zechariah, however, the two branches of the flanking olive trees are the golden pipes which supply the oil or power. Joshua represents the spiritual and temporal, is embodied in Zerubbabel, both having been anointed, the first as priest and the second as a king, and both with parts to play in the work of salvation. Remember that light represents salvation. As a symbol of the Godhead and a light which he endowed mankind, the menorah was often used as a decorative motif, albeit rich in meaning, upon the gravestones and walls of synagogues. In the book of Revelation, there are, it is true, 7 candlesticks, but no mention of their possessing seven branches. They symbolize the 7 churches. In the early Christian era, candlesticks represented the sun in his chariot with 7-rayed nimbus, surrounded by 12 signs of the zodiac, and flanked at the corners by his figures of seasons. That just described the symbol of our circle 7. To Clement Alexandria, of the 7-branch golden candlestick represented the movements of the 7 bright stars, which make their regular motions across the heavens. See, this is dealing with that kafesh spoken of in ancient Kemet, the mouth of God, it is known as, or constellation musketia, the constellation of the thigh. Sometimes they say the bear, the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. That's what they're referring to. He also relates the candlestick symbolically to Christ's cross, not simply from its shape, but because the candlestick recalls the cross as a source of enlightenment. Lastly, they got to be speaking about the Ankh when they say that. The candlestick recalls the 7 archangels. In Celtic tradition, a courageous warrior was normally praised as a candlestick of valor. Bottom's candlestick. The metaphor is clearly based upon the refulgent brilliance of the famous warrior. In the same way, a great warrior's lance is sometimes described as a kingly candlestick. So that's a powerful demonstration. That's a lot, but we are told that you are within the holy place and you will see upon the living shrine the candle of Allah aflame. And when you see it burning there, look deep within the temple of your brain and you will see it all aglow. We have a grand example of this actually in the book that we have given to our family called Awakening the Healing Light, where you see one in a meditative state and they actually show candles being lit, from the head to the foot, just waiting to be lit by the flaming torch of love. And then this is going back again to those 7 stars that make up the kafesh or the scimitar, the constellation of the scimitar, as they state. This is right here within oneself. It says, and when you see the candles of flame, just look, and you will see with the eyes of soul the waters of the fount of wisdom rushing on. And you may drink and there abide. See, that's grand symbolism, family, if we look into it. And the curtains part, and you are where the ark rests, the ark of Allah rests, whose covering is the mercy seat. It says, fear not to lift up the sacred board. The tables of the law are in the ark concealed. Take them and read them well, for they contain all the precepts that man will ever need. So you tap into those records, the Akashic records, the book of Allah's registry of remembrance, the book of your consciousness in creation. It says, and in the art, the magic wand, that's the scimitar, for they contain all prophecy. Lies waiting for your hand. The hand is symbolic to the mind. It is the key to all the hidden meanings of the present, future, and past. The present is the most important, though. That's what you want to focus on when you go into your meditation state. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about the past. Deal with the present moment. Embrace it. The cherubim have guarded well for every soul this treasure box, and whosoever will may enter in and find his own. And the cherubim is the one that is standing in the garden of your consciousness with the scimitar, guarding, these treasures. But all you got to do is enter within your chamber of self-mastery. Now Kaspar heard the Hebrew master speak, and he exclaimed, "Behold, the wisdom of Allah has come to me." Powerful. Now, it says YEHOSHUA went his way in the sacred grove of Cyrus, was met, and he taught and healed the sick. So he showed them the true meaning of wisdom, love, and power. And he demonstrated his saving power by being able to heal. Speaking on the ark, from the book or the dictionary of symbols as well, it says there are various aspects to symbolism of the ark and of the voyage in general in which are linked together. The best known of these is Noah's ark, which sailed on the waters of the flood, frightened with everything to restore the natural cycle. Sanskrit Puranic literature contains a similar account of how Manu, the lawgiver, to the present cycle, remember it was talking about the precepts that are given, it says took ship with the Vedas, which are the seeds of the cyclic manifestation, and was saved by Nasada Avantura, the god of Vishnu, in his incarnation as a fish. In fact, the ark floated on the face of the waters, exactly like the world egg, like the first seed of life. Saint Martin writes the same symbol of the seed, the unspoken word, which would germinate in some future cycle, recurs in the conch and in the Arabic letter nun, which represented fish. A semicircle arc with a dot and a seed in the middle. We've seen that symbol universally. Junan has drawn attention to the importance of the way in which the rainbow complements the ark by appearing over its sign and covenant, sign of the covenant. Rainbow represent all the colors that's in the chakras too, from head to the base of one's being, so to speak. We have here two analogies but posing symbols. One relative to the waters under the earth and the other to the waters above it, which complement one another to recreate the ring of the unified cycle. Through hell and high water, huh? It says here, let's see, 1 second. Yeah, it speaks here about the symbolism of the Ark of the Covenant to the children of Israel is closer than might be thought to the foregoing. The Israelites sat in the furthest end of the temple. It held the 2 tables of law and Aaron's rod and a pot full of the manna on which the people were fed in the wilderness. Way to quench your thirst and your hunger, huh? It was the pledge of God's protection, and the Israelites took it with them on their military campaigns. When it was translated with due ceremony to David's palace, the oxen pulling the cart stumbled. The ark slipped, and the man who put out his hand to steady it was instantly struck dead. You do not lightly touch what is holy, divine, or tradition. 2 Samuel 16. The ark contained the essence of tradition, but developed in the form of the tables of the law, according to St. Martin, it is the source of powers of the cycle. So we see the powers of the cycles, of basically God speaking to man through man. Furthermore, legend claims that it was hidden by Jeremiah on his return from the captivity of Babylon, and that it would come to light again to usher in a new age. But it goes on and on about this ark, and this ark also, represents what they call an alchemical drawing. You have the ark of the heart, the most secret place within the temple, where sacrifice was offered, where it's the nearest place you can meet him. The secret places you meet God, the Holy of Holies. So this is a powerful demonstration, but I wanted to read that portion right there just to give our people some idea of what we were dealing with in the ark. So that's a grand drawing as well. Praise be to Allah. Each and every one of us we are made up in this particular way to where we have all of these things within us. This is not something that is limited to the exterior or the external. So when we go into ourselves, we find everything it is needed to sustain us, be it spiritually, be it mentally, be it physically. Allah is leading on and victory is sure. So we try to teach our people the practicality on how to exercise, their five senses to lift themselves up. We can't say it no plainer than we already have, and we can't make it no plainer than it already is. It takes practice. And just like you see any scientist in the field of experimentation that is experimenting to find or achieve a particular result, we have to do the same thing when it comes to dealing with self and self-mastery. This is what we encourage in our family to do. It may be hard if we choose not to go that special route, but this ain't no overnight sensation either. This is something that has to be done based upon the whim of your action and how bad it is you want to be the higher self. So the great God is leading on and victory is assured. It's a grand drawing. I think that's my whatchamacallit. I don't think I dropped the right link, but I'm gonna drop this link in here because I'm gonna get ready to open up the floor in a little bit, and we're gonna open it up to the public as well. If you would come on, you can give a brief measure, then we'll move along with our Moorish kin and the officials and so forth and so on. So this is a powerful drawing, Moorish kin. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't establish this by chance. I'm going to go somewhere real quick, and I'm going to show you what, these candle lights look like. So let me see here. Let me open this up real quick first, and then I'll get you there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let me share my screen now. Okay, and we're going into Mathino's Archives of Truth, website that I put on the manifest a little while ago. And everything, if you can see my screen being shared, this is a mystic expression, of everything that is behind it, so to speak. Really that's a tree of life and a tree of light that you bear witness to. And you see it as the ancient Egyptian Moorish rite of the mystic crypts of Misraim. All of that come from what the prophet brought. And we get into the sacred groves of this demonstration. We have a tree here. And I went over it on numerous occasions. But this is a great time to go into this. The 42 paths of Moorish wisdom. And you will notice it's actually 43 measures, but the 43rd, I often tell people, represents the destination. It's not the path. That 43rd, represent this. Where you see the great seal here, and it says the holy prophet. So these represent different measures of illumination. These tools that were given to us that are in the form of the structure of the nation, as we call it, Act 1. We are at work just as, the 7 Elohim are at work. Like I say, you can see the tree of life here, but you can also see the different degrees of unfoldment. We got to come through a perfection of belief in order to get into faith. And once we unfold from that 7, then we unfold into the next 7. We got to unfold from a perfection of faith into fruition. And once you reach fruition, that's perfection in and of itself. So we have 10, circles of illumination, or paths that represents the wisdom. And then we have these 7, by 3 in stages of unfoldment in a pyramid, from belief, faith, into fruition. Once you add that to the 12, you get 33. And then you add the 10 to that, you get 43. And like I said, this is your 43rd measure. We came from on high, and we rose back through the heights of divinity by utilizing these tools that we use in the workshop of the mind, where thought is used to build character. All that is a part of the measure to manifest the treasures. Like we call it the grand national treasures of Moorish America. And all of that is made manifested in the wisdom that we bring forth. That's our gross national product. You see the 4 quadrants here. There's a 7 in the center. And if you're dealing with 90 by 3 degrees, that times basically 4 brings you into 360 degrees. If you deal with 30, because 3, 3, 3, 30, 30, 30, and that's 90, it's going to come out to the same thing. So we see the same measures that were being spoken of. And all of this really represents the image of man himself in all actuality. We can go back into Kemet with the same chart. Like I said, this is all being unpacked from the symbols that we put right here. The eye of Allah's providence corresponding with the prophet, the chairman, the sheikh, and you can go all the way down through this. The same paths of wisdom are veiled via in the expression that we brought forth. So it's a lot of stuff in here dealing with the Osari metaphorian. Like I say, I go into this from time to time, because if we deal with the 7 in this particular area, we can see the Kemetic understanding of the 7 divisions of the spirit, via the Neteru executive ruler and the main functions. But first and foremost, the division of the number and the constituents that we are working with here. From the crown chakra to the base chakra. This is really the grand apparatus of self-mastery. The temple of Allah, the temple of perfected man. That's what we're talking about. You see? And so the heights of our divinity, which we have here in the Kemetic aspect, it says the Ba. There's a measure in the Grand Quran in Surah 15, Ayat 26, where it speaks of Basharun. Basharun, I say Bashara or Bashura, breaking it down Kemetically. Ba represents the spiritual soul. Shu represents the breath. Ra represents the light. So the Ba are the crown. They call this the good body, Basharan, in the Arabic, the good body of man. The good body of man has nothing to do with the physical. And it was in the same ayat where the great God Allah was telling the angels to prostrate before the man. Again, it wasn't talking about the flesh or the body. It was speaking of what was the essence of his being. That which was of the highest degree of spirit, called Ru'Allah, the spirit of Allah. That's what he was telling them to prostrate toward. But it says Ba represents crown. The Kemetic expression is Al-Sa. When we deal with the mag apparatus, what we were showing earlier, it represents the Holy Prophet. So this represents the part of man's spirit where God dwells. So if you want to talk about the prophet working from the plane of soul, go into the part of your spirit where God dwells, because the spirit is clothed with soul made in the form of Allah. The second drawing deals with Ku, the third eye, Tehudi, the national grand sheik, assistant national grand sheik. We both share this expression, so to speak, as far as the post concerned. On a spiritual level, it states the place from which man may experience omnipresence, the oneness with all, unity, part of man's spirit which is all-knowing, omniscience, wisdom of God's will, the oracle and part of man's spirit with divine power, omnipotence. Didn't it just tell you about wisdom, love, and power? So now you see where to operate from. This is cool. This is the third eye. Then we have Sekim, the National Grand National Chairman, Seker, the Kemetic Netter, is also part and partial, dealing with that part of man's spirit with divine power, delegated authority from on high. Number 4, we have Ab, which is the heart. We said, where's the nearest place we can meet him? In the heart. Well, the Neteru that govern the heart, the 3 of them, is Ma'at, Herakuti, and Heru. This is synonymous with the Grand National Secretary of the state, the National Grand Mufti, and Assistant National Grand Mufti. So in this area, we find that invocation through mantra, Heka, mediates between divine and the mundane, part of the spirit that intuits to consciousness the law of God and exercises man's free will. That's what we're dealing with. 5, Sahu, which is representing the solar plexus region. This often houses, the bread of wisdom, so to speak. This area. Het Heru, Sebek, and all set. It ain't strange you're dealing with, 2 goddesses, and then you got Sebek there, which actually represented, sometimes they'll put a similar a deity that looks similar to Ampu, but it represents the crocodile. But anyway, it goes into silent brotherhood of swift angels, ministers of divinity, national treasurer. And this coordinates the guides of the forces of the animating spirit to recognize the mundane goals of existence. All of these represent lights on the path, so to speak. Candlesticks that have been lit. Then we have Kabit, which is the naval area. This is what Geb, or the Moorish Consul General, operates from within the being. This governs the animal spirit, emotion, sense, perception, sensuality, sensory, motor, nervous power. And last but not least, we have Cap, the Moorish American National, which is dealing with that which governs the physical body and the spirit's window to the physical world, which contributes to the illusion of being separated from all other things. And you can see that this actually goes, even though you see the 7, you really see the tree of life in there, 1 all the way up to 10. So all of that has grand drawing, Moorish Ken. This ain't something that you can just make up, and you can go into this thing and really go into a mastery over the self. We got everything here. It's right there in our most holy Quran. We were talking about the 7 Elohim, the 7 eyes of Allah. These are the 7 creative spirits of Allah that created everything that is, was, and evermore to be. So if that's the case, then we recognize ourselves as I went through the 7 and we see the 10 being a part of that measure, but the 7, spirit natures, that's really us that has the power to demonstrate according to creative fate. If our will is linked up with the deific will. You see? Hear now ye cherubim, ye seraphim, ye angels, and ye men. See? This is all there. Our prophet knew what he was talking about. Protoplasm, earth, plant, and beast. Ye spirits of air, ye spirits of fire, ye spirits of water, ye spirits of the earth. You see? Which corresponds with the 4 descendants of Altum, Nu, Shu, Tefnut, Seb. You see? 3 physical realms. The earth, the birds that fly, the creeping things of the earth, the fish that swim, the winds that blow, the thunders of the sky. These are, the lightning. These are the ethers, the 3 ethers of power. Above, as opposed to what is just manifest on the physical realm. So yeah, all this stuff dealing with the planes of manifestation before and after the fall of men, you can find in here. I don't want to try to go over all of this here, but just know that this is what we call our Merkaba. This is our vehicle. The divine apparatus of the Moorish adept, and this represents, again, cherubim, seraphim, angels, and men. This manifest plane, we're dealing with the apparatus of spirit plane, apparatus of the thought plane, the apparatus of soul plane, and manifest plane. All 4 of these have to be in harmony when it comes to dealing with justice, mercy, love, and right in order for us to take divine flight. We can't make this stuff up, but we can enlighten our people who want to learn. So it's a grand draw in Moorish Ken when it comes to dealing with this wisdom, that speak from out of the highest plane of spirit life. You can see it. See the brother laid here in the middle, that justice, mercy, love, and right that we were talking about, in the shadow of the lower self, deal with everything that manifests, on the plane of plant protoplasm, beast and earth, and man, all of those represent physical aspects, but in the realm of protoplasm, we in our most rawest form, spirit form, so to speak. Do you know that even though atoms are said to be physical, that they are actually known to actually be less physical than we actually realize them to be? But yet quarks are even more minute, so to speak. So when you're dealing with protoplasm, that's when you get into that form, like I said, where you're dealing with really, energy and motion having the potential to manifest and become something else. Because we know from atoms, come the world of, or the realm of plant, the ethers of plant, the ethers of the earth, the ethers of the beast, and so forth. And man himself being physical. All of these are different building blocks in creation that make up, the stuff that we become or what everything else has manifested to be. So herein lies the concept of the Moorish Kaaba of Allah. The concept of Kabbalah, as they call it. They go your 7 stars we were talking about right there, the flag. So all of this stuff is veiled in the science that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us. We just broke the code and unfolded these things and lifted the veil so that you would be able to bear witness to it. We can't make this stuff up, family. It's a powerful demonstration. So you get a chance, go into the book of this page here, the not book, but Mathino's archives of Tehuti, which says Ma'at. And you see the tree makes up the man. You see Allah is at the head right there, though, don't you? You know what I mean? All that has deeper study to it, family. But it's up to you to go into the deep research. You know, some of our people, they like to hear, these things, but don't do the research, and then they find themselves wanting when it comes to trying to find out exactly what's being stated. You see, in this information, because they just listening, but not going to do the work. And if you have no intent to go do the work, then don't even pick up the gospel plot. Leave it alone. Because trying to go into this stuff right here half cocked will make you lose your mind. But anyway, I said there's a reason the European adopted the Great Pyramid as an emblem. This is the same pyramid in which Noble Drew Ali received his adept degrees. They are 5 exalted chambers within the Great Pyramid unknown to many. The ground floor of the King's Chamber consists of 21 stones. That's 7 plus 7 plus 7. You've seen that in an example of the pyramid I gave in our imagery above. The logo circles 7, 7 degrees, and 7 acts. The walls is said to consist of 101 stones. And there are 7 chambers, king and queens. We got 1 and 101 in our questionnaire, don't we? But we have the king and queen, the 5 exalted hidden chambers corresponding to the 7 chakras, or what they like to call the 7 churches of Asia biblically. Asiatic. Asiatic in the Kabbalah represents the earth. This is the earthbound man and woman. Asiatic, meaning this earthbound body of flesh. Attic, also being an Asiatic, you got something to think with. So if your head houses the wisdom, then this is the attic. The attic is the highest thing in the house. Lit is this light in houses which Allah permitted to be raised. So what has been permitted? What light has been permitted to be raised in the hearts and the minds of the Asiatic? The mind in the house of Allah permitted to be raised as Ka, soul, and Ba, spirit. Of ancient Kemet, this is the true Kaaba of Allah, Kabbalah. And then you see me spell it with a Q because that represents the Kemetic Kabbalah, the tree of life veiled in chapter 1, the circle 7, Hotep and love, Islamism. We are today what our forefathers were yesterday without doubt or contradiction. So, we put this together. It's been a minute since we actually created this website. But trust me, there's a lot of wisdom here to be unpacked and, wrapped up in our Moorish Holy Quran. We even have the 7 Kemetic principles here, which as the 7 Hermetic principles or the Kabbalion. All of that represents the same wisdom that we deal with coming through these planes of manifestation. And if you know, then you know. So, yeah, Islamism without the schism. We don't just create anything. And if you go through these things properly, you can pair this up with the works of Ra'u Nefer Amen and, get a deeper insight. Metal Netta, get a deeper insight about, this wisdom. So we just want to say gratitude with a divine attitude for being able to come into this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding and enlighten our people, and give them grand insight, so to speak. So at this time, what I'm going to do, I ain't going to go on. I went over enough, but I'm going to open up the floor. And for those who want to hit the link, feel more than free, and we'll let you in and give your measure in regards to dealing with the subject matter. Long as it's in line with the subject matter. If you want to come in, you're welcome. If not, at this time, let us call forth our Moorish kin on our Moorish conference call on the panel. Islam, star 6 your phone, Moors. We are more than what meets the eye. You get in silence, boy, you find all this stuff. Islam, can you hear me, Moors? Are there any Moors who would like to come forth and give their measure?
You call me Islam Moors?
Oh, yeah, you get out the way. I'm calling my chairman. Don't come in here now. Come on in here, chairman.
Man, woo. Give praise to Allah and honor to the last papa in these days and time that was sent and brought us everything. I mean, everything. Good. You know what, Moors? One of the great things about this right here is you can't make up divinity. You cannot make this up. Allah, all you gotta do is say, well, who made you? It's just the wisdom, the will, and the love. Boy, we are so blessed. It's just an honor and a blessing to have these. And I'm just looking at the chapter, you know, when you talk about the wisdom of Allah in man. This is just so powerful more to know how blessed we are. Praise Allah. Who made you? It's just blessings. We look at our flag, our grand national seal, our emblem, our Holy Quran, our divine constitution, even our questionnaire. This is powerful, more. This is a powerful class, man. You would just, I'm going to have to check you out when I see you. Make sure you still got the kneecaps left. Islamism without the schism.
Islamism without the schism. But, Chairman, I got that jewel you just dropped. You say you can't make up divinity. And then you say who made it. So you done let them know you can't make up what made you. You know what I mean? You can try to put the cart before the horse all you want to, but you ain't going nowhere. Yeah, you can't make up divinity because divinity made you. Goodness gracious, Islamism without the schism. Well, all right. Y'all heard the chairman. He done kicked the door off the hinges. You see, and you already heard him. You right. I got both of my pan legs rolled up and I'm wading in the water. Islam. Is there who is that other Mo trying to get in there? You know we got to use a little more humor. Islam.
It was me, brother T30 here. I had signed in. I checked in, and then before they called, National Call came in, and then I came back, so I missed what's the subject matter, beloved?
It's YEHOSHUA explains to KASPAR the meaning of silence and the wisdom of Allah and man. And the ayat that we dealing with, I don't know if you looking at it online, but we have it flowing across the bottom of the screen. It's ayat 3 in our Moorish Holy Quran. And it you probably wouldn't have it if you don't have the one, or it might have a different chapter. I do believe you got it though, boy. It says there's a silence where the soul.
I get it.
Yes, sir. It says there's a silence.
Yeah, I get it.
Go ahead, bro.
I said that. I'm listening to something.
No, I was saying the silence. It's a silence of the soul where they may meet the God Allah, you know, and this is what a wisdom is, where one can enter to be immersed in the light, and filled with wisdom, love, and power. That's it. Islam.
Islam. Well, let me rise and give praise to the great God Allah, and give the highest honor that can be given to our holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, and to give special honor to all the Muslims here, there, and everywhere. Well, you know, I know, you know, the talk was, you know, it's the foolishness of folly, and you know, to listen, you know, it's a part of wisdom. So, you know, when we talk about that silence, you know, we talking about that stillness, you know, being still, because you got to be still to hear, you know, that still small voice. Islam. So, you know, the chairman, you know, he taught us, you know, how to bring it, you know, how to rotate it swift, you know. So, you know, we rotate it, we swing it, you know, from the east to the west. You know, we swing it 2 or 3 6. So, like you honors to the Moorish American government, and you know, we are the royal Moorish vanguard
what spirit, we don't care what body he comes from. And I want to share with them. I love them. I want to hear them, support them. And I want you to know, Brother Saeed, because you know what I'm saying, we got a long history. And I love what y'all doing, brother. I'm a governor over here in Ward Too, but ain't nobody going to tell me who I can't talk to. I'm a man. I'm talking about Allah in man. So we got a table of elders, and I made sure that it was room for Brother E. Pleasant Bay, and I made sure that there's room for Shaheed. So y'all two elders, I made sure that y'all are elders. So now the table is wide open, and y'all welcome to the table, and we're gonna listen to what y'all got to say. Our people see it, but see, we the prophet people. We not no secret and day people. We not no evil and ill people. We the prophet people. I found them, and we here, and I'm bringing them back to the government, and we here posted. We not playing. I'm up here in Minnesota. I've been down to City Hall. I've been up to the government center, and they see how we move, and they know what it is. So next time, y'all march, hey, the Royal Boys Vanguard march, wherever y'all march, and I know it's gonna be to a destiny that's not unknown. So Islam and peace, Allah be known, the victory is sure. Peace and love, boys.
Islam, and we give honors to you and peace and love, and we can't forget about our Grand Sheikh as well, Dr. Serapis Amin Rael. And that's the fullness of that wisdom, will, and love, that triune Allah. But we give honors to you, brother, for that
Islam,
grand drawing. Islam.
Islam, I forgot about our Grand Sheikh. So look, y'all the three elders that come from the government, they're going to be at the table. So anybody at the table, in law government, all the events, we push the prophet. So I'm bringing Rockside Hill, all of them so-called elders, man, they're going to have to, we finna come to the table, and then we're going to push the prophet. And I don't think nobody's swinging like Swift Angel number one. See, we joined Swift Angel instead of Swift Angel, but it's 101 of us. But we was joined that the prophet was number one. We're going to join that the prophet is the circle. So the prophet is number circle. His number is the circle. So he be the number circle. The man and Swift Angel number one, he be one. So we got a lot of lines, but we got to go back to the table. We're going to hand it all back over to the chairman of the Grand Sheikh for y'all, so y'all can deal with the numbers, how y'all want to point, because, it's going to get, I'm handing it over to y'all three. I'm telling you. And whoever got a problem with, send ball going down Babylon. Get your love, more.
Islam, brother. Peace and love. Allah is leading on, the victory is sure. Yes, sir. Ain't nobody got no problem with love, brother. Love is leading on. Well, all right. Good measure brought forth by our brother. Grand drawing. Well, all right. Who else want to come up here and exercise their fire? We got plenty of time to let the world know you're alive. Let the people know you're here.
Islam.
Islamism without the schism.
Islam, Dr. Larry Daniels, Bay, South Carolina, Concert Agent. First I rise and give praise and glory to Allah, the most merciful. And I give high honors to his holy and divine prophet, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, the last prophet in these days of time. And I give honors to Act 1 of our divine constitution. And I honor you, brother. Great class as always. Great subject. And I honor all my brothers and sisters of mine. Peace and blessings. Peace and love. Well, brother, it's beautiful the way that class. Because making, like the brother was saying, that little voice within us, that's always there. And, making a choice between right and wrong, when it becomes, just something to do, because that's who you are. And it's a beautiful feeling to be yourself, and to really make a conscious choice to always guard your temple, so to speak, because, the way I see it, each man, he faces God. Excuse me, Lord. He faces God the way he sees and the way he understands it, because like the prophet told us, man, God today, may not be as God tomorrow. Just like I heard somebody saying, well, I'll forever be this, I'll forever be that. And I'm saying to myself, but then what if you find out something about, a prophet that came, and brought the truth, and then he explained that we wasn't Negroes or black people and all these things right here. You may take a second and look at what you just said, and change already from what you thought was there, and because we're all headed somewhere, and like the prophet told us, it's towards the truth, it's towards love divine, because we're made from this and we gravitate back to it, to what we're made from, but when you start to consciously listen to that little small voice that's always there and telling you the right way, it does. It tells man the right way. It does. But once you start listening to it and obeying it and going that right way, making those conscious choices and understanding the illusions of this world and understanding that, love, what that real unconditional love is. You walk with your head up. You walk, it's like you glide through life now, because you're not worried about anything, because if anything coming your way, it's supposed to be right there. Because that's a holy temple now. It's not a temple that's out there being guided by the ego, and the ego is not even paying no attention to the spirit, which is all the soul. Our prophet taught us this, that the soul searches for perfection. So when we understand the difference between right and wrong, and we start making those choices, it's beautiful to be able to teach from a point where, you can, where you came from, and to give the understanding, and to make it so simple, that as a man thinketh, so is he. So if all life is thought activity, why not make those right choices? Because if your life is a thought, then your thought creates your life. If all life is thought activity, that's your life too. So when you look at these things from a philosophical, logical, or whatever that makes you understand it, you know what? That makes sense. And then you go on and like doing that now. From that point on, you climb. You climb, because you're not entitled to that next level of understanding until you pass where you at. You got to get through where you at first before you even privilege to that other information that's right there. But it's vibrating a little too high. But once you pass that test, once you be sincere about your life and making those choices, it's different. It's another privilege right there. You know what I'm saying? It's another level of understanding right there. It's a blessing right there. That even when we was talking about our marriage laws, she could be right there. She could see you, but you can't see her until you vibrated properly. But that's just it. First of all, is my brother said something about the day he said this last little statement. He said, Larry, what's the first something about survival, whatever? He said self-preservation. I said, nah, vibrations. I said, because self-preservation make men at war against one another. I say, but vibrations put man at a different level of understanding and love. Because, the Moor's always got the right answer, because he's not going to follow nobody. He's a leader. Peace and blessing. Islam. Great class, brother.
Islam, we give honors to you, brother. Praise be to Allah. That's right. We follow Allah. Allah himself is leading on, and victory is sure. There's a drawing that I will share with our family that we have never really paid attention to before we go to our next Moorish kin. I'm going to share this briefly, and I'm going to show it to you real quick. And I want our family to get a drawing off of this because it's very important. You know, when Moses was asked, when he asked the Most High, who it is that he was to say that had sent him, the Most High was said to explain to him that Asher sent him. And, we told that this was meant I am that I am who I am, right? And it actually means I will become what I choose to become. So that should kill all the conflict, and the wars that come between the way, because the Most High is able to come with many different names, and he becomes, basically what he chooses to become. So to those Israelites at that time, he manifested himself to Moses. Moses had to go into a silent place, though, in order to hear that voice speaking to him from the burning bush, which is symbolic, to a holy place and where his wisdom was. So not only did he say, I would become what I choose to become, and he did that. When he came to Abraham and sat down and ate with him before he destroyed Babylon. They say he ate with him, and he drunk what he drunk, and, he ate the bread that Abraham broke with him. And he presented himself as Yahweh Elohim, or as they call it, Yahweh Elohim. But he came in the form, of man. This is why you hear us say Allah speaks to man through man. But how can man hear the great God Allah speak to him if he's tuning into the noise, if he's letting the noise drown out the divine speech of the divinity of the great God Allah that made us, that made everything in creation? These were divine words of power. This is why we say love, was made manifest. You see? So once we understand, that in and of itself, that's a grand drawing, family. So not only did he say, that he will become what he chooses to become, he say, I am what I am, and I will be what I will be. So if we think of the Most High in these terms, then he has removed all the mystery from him. So this is saying wherever we are along the way in our path, and how the great God Allah chooses to manifest itself through us, who he manifests itself through, the condition and the circumstances that he manifests itself through. All that will come as a manifestation after we are able to go within silence. And then we can bear witness to the Allah who speak within. He will be what he will be. What about divine will? He will be divine will within you and me, the existing one. So Islamism without the schism, we can't get around it, family. So we see that Moses said it, and that's why Moses took up that instruction. When he went to the Israelites, he said, I've been here 40 years with you, led you through the wilderness, gave you manna and quail, that you may know that I am the Lord your God. So he wasn't doing nothing but following instructions. And so we have to realize that we are the only reflection that some of our people will bear witness to as God. He ain't coming out the sky. He already on the manifest, he and you and me. Praise be to Allah for that knowledge. Gratitude with a divine attitude. And, at this time, we call forth our Moorish kin. We still got time. Star 6 your phone, More. Islamism, goddess.
Islam, that venture in the occurred debate. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah, give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, give honors to Agmon. I give honors to all my governor officials, and I give honors to you, National Sister Grand Sheik, for another powerful Moorish perspective class. And you coming from the ayat 3, and YEHOSHUA said there is a silence where the soul may meet God Allah, and there the fount of wisdom is, and all who enter are immersed in light and filled with wisdom, love, and power. And I tell you, God, man, that is a powerful, powerful ayat right there. And just what you were saying when you were explaining to us, breaking it down about Moses, when he said, "Who should I say sent me?" and how Allah said, "I will become what I choose to become." You know, when I was thinking about that just that saying right there, that takes away all argument. You know, because if Allah, if He become who He choose to become, then we as His people shouldn't have any division between us. Because, like you said, whoever He decides to manifest Himself to me, or what other nationality, what other branch of what you call them, denominations or whatever, whomever He decides to reveal Himself to, that's what He does. And so how can there still be division among us when, and especially when He says in this ayat in chapter 24, when He say when you go within the fount of wisdom, He said that's what a wisdom is. And when you go within there, when you go in there, and when you sit down and get quiet, and we always say we seek wisdom from the highest plane of spirit life. And there, and I also realize too, when you're in there, you know how we say we can trace ourselves back through the clouds of time. But that's how you do it. When you go within and sit down, and then He say you be immersed in light, and you will be filled in that light. Well, we know when that light is there can be no darkness. And then he talked about the love. Well, we know that's the first principle in our 5 highest principles that our prophet gave to us. And then He talked about that power. Well, you know that power will manifest and will. You have the power. That's why I know for myself, when the chairman tells us, "Who made you?" That's why I know there is so much more wisdom. I have to speak for myself. There is so much more wisdom for me to learn. Because when my chairman teaches me and asks me, "Who made you, Kurtubay?" And I say, "Allah." And I know what I'm saying, but I know that I'm just scratching the surface. Because once I start immersing myself into this light, and the great God of Allah start filling me with that wisdom and love and power, oh man, there is no end to what we can do. And it's happening. Our prophet, he's sending His supreme laws down to us now. I mean, it's just so wonderful to be a part of this government. Gratitude, God, man, for letting me share. Great class, as usual, is love.
And gratitude to you as well, Goddess and Queen, for the measure. Islamism without the schism. And thank you for the divine wisdom. Well, all right. The floor is still open, Mo.
Islam, Mo, this woman stirs the ethers, Mo. She stirs the ethers, Mo.
Islam. Praise be to Allah, brother. We give honors to you in your work. Yes, sir. We stir up the ethers, man, and the ethers move. Yeah. They can only move at the breath of the holy. So we just say gratitude with a divine attitude. And when we exchange, we can't do nothing but raise our people up. Yes, sir. Islam. Are there any other Moors who would like to come forth?
Islam?
Islam, brother. That brother Bati Bey.
Islam it is.
Islam, General.
Islam. My sister will see. First I'd like to rise and give all manner of praise to Allah, honest to the Prophet, honest to our theocratic government, our royal council, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution, our swift angels, martyrs, citizens alike, honest to all the Moors spoke before me, all the ones that will speak after, honest to you for this class. And something, and I was going to ask you to repeat it before I begin my measure. We said, I am that I will be what I need.
Yeah, well, when that measure Asher, Moses asked the Most High who he was going to send him. He actually, in detail, states, I will become what I choose to become. You
Islam.
see? Yeah, Islam.
Now, this, for that statement right there, kills any argument an atheist has.
Yep.
And in that is because, and it kills any argument that anybody who's just simply ungrateful has. It says, I will become what I will become, or, speaking to that effect, is think about your trials and tribulations that you went through to get to where you are today. So all that is not just a reminder, but that shows that Allah's true providence is everywhere. Because every situation, whether you think you passed it or you think you failed it, that's a situation you needed to induce a state of spiritual growth. Now, you may be so far gone that you don't realize the level of growth that you're going through. But you know that the will of man, it records everything. Everything you're doing is being recorded. And so every situation, no matter how it looks, and what confirms even that more so is the brother Hazrat Khan in that book, Mastery, where he says some people are they're on the right track and they're facing the destination, and other people got their back turned. So we're supposed to face everything that we have ever faced. It's on us to tap into that, as the guy said, frequency. But it's not just frequency, it's right thought. And a lot of times we ignore that subtle nudge, that subtle spiritual nudge that tells us to go in the opposite direction. We ignore that. Sometimes that voice is loud, and it can tell you better not do it. I'd have had that happen to you. And so anybody who is just who needs to realize where God is, where was your trauma at? What part of that? And even thinking that if you are made in the image and the likeness, you had to become what you had to become in order to get through the situations that you had to get through. And and I say this to a lot of people. They be like, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you not the same as before? Why this ain't how pain or whatever how pain was. And I tell them, I have to be what I have to be in order to, one, raise my people. If anybody that I come in contact with, I have to be what I have to be. Whatever instrument that is needed in that, you know what I'm saying? That moment has to be orchestrated or tethered to their understanding. And sometimes it may not be as pretty as we want it to be. But we got to know that there's a divine act in that situation. It's always plumbed off a divine act. We may not see it that way. We may not, in the moment, we may not feel that way. But it's always plumbed off a divine moment, because we have to have some type of I want to say recognizance, but some type of recognition of the spirit claiming where you came from. And so a lot there are always, there is no way that, you know what I'm saying, you can deny that just by that statement alone. And with that, I leave it. I come to Islam.
Islam. Yes, sir. Yeah, it don't happen to you, it happen for you. If we look at it from that aspect, you're right, brother. Islamism without the schism. All right. The floor is still open. Are there any other Moors who would like to come forth and exercise their fire?
Islam.
Islam, brother Jehudi.
Islam, National Assistant Grand Sheikh. Yes, it is. I, Jehud, Bakuhu, Yehud, Bakuhu, Yehud, Jehudi Bay, North Carolina Consul General. First, let me rise and give all praise to mighty God Allah. Let me give honors to our beloved Prophet Noble Jew Ali. Let me give honors to the Moorish American government. Honors to our Act 1. Honors to all our officials. Honors to our flag, seal, and emblem. Honors to all Moorish Americans here, there, and everywhere. And honors to all those that spoke before me, and honors to all those that will speak after me. And honors to you, Dr. Shaheen, our National Assistant Grand Chief, for this beautiful Moorish Perspectives class this evening. And coming out of, I have 5 notes, pardon myself. 3, there is a silence where the soul may meet its God Allah, and there the front of wisdom is, and all who enter are immersed in light and filled with wisdom, love, and power. Islam. I give honors to all those who spoke before me. And Grand Man, when I think about this ayat and how wonderful our Prophet has given us the knowledge of ourselves, where there are so many that are seeking this divine wisdom and knowledge. And I know that those of us that have the understanding and the comprehension of what all of this means, we know that there are still those that are seeking this knowledge. But we know that you have to have that purity of soul, purity of spirit. You have to be pure in order to enter. Take that time to take that moment to immerse yourself in that silence. Take that time to be quiet. And like you say, Grand Man, it's not about thinking about the future. It's not about thinking about the past. It's about the now. And once we are silent and we listen to that still voice, we are given the tools to strengthen who we are. We are given the ability to have the strength to be the message that we bring. And I have to reflect back on ayat in chapter 2 and ayat 15, which says the mighty work is theirs. For the carnal men want not the light, they love the dark. And when the light shines in the dark, they comprehend it not. And one has to be pure pure in order to understand what that light means. You have to leave all those NBC thoughts, those Negropean thoughts outside of self in order to be one with the great God Allah. You have to leave all those negative vibrations outside. You have to be pure. You have to want to be one with the great God Allah. And once we understand that we see that light and feel that light, and we become that, we walk in it, and we become that light, we become the revealers of the light. As it says in Ayah 16, we call these sons revealers of the light, but they must have the light before they can reveal the light. So in order to reveal this understanding of who, not just who we are, but who our fellow brothers and sisters are, because Allah is in all of us, and all it takes is for us to have that time to be silent within and go deep into ourselves and meet our great God Allah. Islam and pardon self. And once we understand that wisdom, love, and power, we will once again be the message that we bring, and we become that light. Islam family, gratitude, National Assistant Grand Sheikh, for allowing me the time to speak and give my measure. Islam, peace and love, family.
And gratitude in Islam, brother, for the measure. Peace and love. It don't get no plainer than the truth. Thank you, Jehudi. Coming from a divine mind. Always on time. All right. Got room for one more. Islam.
Grand Class, Sister National Grand Sheikh, checking in from the Michigan Territory, Shoshone, Washington. Emerald Tuck Walk Bay L from the Michigan Territory. I know I don't have that much time left. I'm gonna get like 2-3 minutes. I rise and give all praise to the great God Allah. I give all honors to my prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet, Sharif Adu Ali. Give all honors to the 12th Department government doing a grand job. I give all honors to the dear credit Morris government flag, Marcus Garvey. That means time left. Could you repeat that title one more time?
Yeah, it's coming from chapter 3 in our Moorish Holy Quran more. If you go into chapter 24, hard self, ayat 3, I'm sorry. And if you're looking at the video, I don't know if you are, it's flowing across the bottom as a banner. It states there's a silence where the soul may meet its God, Allah. And there the fount of wisdom is, and all who enter are immersed in light and filled with wisdom, love, and power. Islam?
Okay. Islam. Our brothers and sisters, we are the light. It's, like I've been hearing, what my moms and brothers was saying. I just got in, I was moving around. I had to do something else, but, we got to let, all this negative thoughts go as a people, like, we telling them you have your own government. You have your own, 12 departments. The prophet, he gave us all our stuff right back to us. He restored us 100 years ago. And, how people are, they thinking, well, y'all not the government. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the negative thoughts in our people. I was thinking about that today. I was thinking, going to myself, we gotta let all this stuff like black, Negro, colored man, Ethiopia, we just gotta go into self, save thyself. Ain't nobody gonna come and save us. Nobody ain't no pie in the sky. Ain't nobody gonna give us the key to the vast estate. It was the prophet. He restored us. He gave us. He gave us everything. He said, "Take it and save thyself." And most people don't believe in the prophet. He was our prophet from the west. In the west, he gave us everything, from our government back. Birthright. And they still don't. They really don't believe it. They still have that Christianity mindset as our people. It's caught up in Rome's religion. So gratitude, peace and love, Islam.
Islam, brother. There's a saying: the universe don't give you what you want; it give you who you are. So we got to be what we want to see at the end of the day. So gratitude with a divine attitude. Want to thank you all for coming out to this Moorish Perspectives and showing your support. Honest to all of those who showed up, and pass this wisdom on in whatever way that you can, family. Because our people need it now more than ever. So that being said, at this time, we're going to call on our official. We're going to start by calling on Sister Alcetta Moonell, Islam, Assistant Grand National Secretary of Moorish America. Are you there? Well, all right. We know the sisters about our father's business. We're going to call on our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Khonshu Mark Herube. Islam, you there, Grand Man?
Islam.
Islamism.
Salvation, gratitude, Grand Man, for calling forth. We rise, giving all thanksgiving, adoration, worship, and praise to our Father God, Allah, great God of the universe. And we give the highest honors that we can give to his prophet, our prophet, the last prophet in these days and in these times, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the Savior of humanity. We give honors to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honors to his government, our government, Moorish American government, the government in which we live according to Act 6. We give honors to the officials of this said government, our divine ministers, our swift angels, our mufti, our royal council, our secretaries. We give honors to our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honors to our flag, our divine constitution and bylaws, our Holy Quran, our Grand National Seal, our Grand National Emblem, our Book of Fire, the exhuming of a nation. Give honors to everything that is Moorish. We give a special high honor to National Sister Grand Sheikh for this grand Moorish perspective class this evening. We give honors to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us, and to our Moorish kin that will speak after us. We give honors to you, angels. We just continue to give the honors where they're due, and honoring our true and divine prophets, and we give honors to our ancestors. They have come before us, leading the way, and we are them today without doubt or contradiction, because no one has the power to change man in his descent nature. So praise Allah for this grand class, and when one does go into the silence, go into the silence of the self, and allow one's mind to be filled like that. This is key. So many times we have so many thoughts going through our brains all day, every day, as not only we have our own personal thoughts, but we have what's out there, the programming, the radio, the TV, the social media, the internet and all. There's so much. We got so much knowledge at the tip of our fingers that sometimes they love when I be speaking. Praise Allah. sometimes there's so much information out there. There's so much stuff out there to input into the brain that we gotta take a step back from that in order to get that silence and hear Allah and hear clearly what He wants us to do, how He wants us to live, what our mission is. Because it's always going to be someone telling you from, pretty much from birth. Parents, they got expectations for you. Your friends got expectations for you. Your girl, your mate, they got expectations. Lots of in there. but your woman, your spouse, or whatever, they got expectations. And like I said, all these things come into one's mind and one's thought at a time. And if you can't take time to step away from that, how are you going to gain the wisdom from Allah? How are you going to take that wisdom and be able to enforce it into a power? Because these things take focus. These things take, when we talk about will, when we're talking about this more science and how things is exercised at the will of the user, the will is the focus thing. It's not something that just, it's, it doesn't take any exertion of power or thought or effort. Let's put it like that. And so, in order for one to do that, one's got to go into the silence of focus. And the focus, even though it doesn't have to be a single thought, when you go into silence, but it's the focus of clearing the thoughts so that you can hear or receive the divinity that's being presented to you. Because as Lord said, when you're quiet, all you're getting is light rays. You're being filled with light. And that light as we know, is a frequency. Light is frequency. That's how we see the different colors of the light spectrum. They have different frequency levels. And so we perceiving different colors. So we receiving the information or getting the divine information through the light codes. So you're not blocking it out with your thought or the sound of a thought in a way, because that's, it's going to be louder. You are the God. You are the God of your reality. And of course, your thoughts are going to be the loudest thing in the reality that you have. Because what's more powerful than God? And so, God has to quiet the mind, and then the rest of the divinity from the universe can come and speak to that God or goddess. They want to feel wisdom and power. Because the force is there. So, I was looking at all these things as you was presenting this grand class tonight, Sister Grand. She, pardon the body for the interruptions without. That is a grand draw when we look at this ayah and what it's truly saying, because it's necessary. That silence, that quiet at times for all guys, like I said, to be able to do. It's like being able to take a dip out of the waters of knowledge. It's like you're able to now focus and hand into a cup and drink from that demonstration, because it's not spread out in so many different directions. So gratitude for this class, gratitude to you, Morris America, for being here with us, giving us the time and sense of respect. We love you.
And Islamism, yes, sir. That's why Allah gave us that divine chalice, that we can pass it around, and all of our family can quench the thirst. Gratitude, Grand Man. Well, all right, let us call forth our Grand National Secretary of the State, Sister Hatshepsut Rakat Ma'at Anpuntu to come and Bay. Islam, are you there, sister? Islam, if you speaking Grand Secretary of the State, we can't hear you. You know what? I think our Grand Secretary of the State may be on a mission.
She's on a mission mode.
Yep, I remember her telling me that too, Grand man. Gratitude. Well, we know you right here. I got our top, back, bottom, all that.
Okay.
Come on in, Chairman.
Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We were just calling you to come forth and give your message.
All right. Well, let me give praise to Allah on to the last part of these days and times that was sent from Allah that could bring us, His Morris American National, everything. And we want to also extend much on to our master chapter, The Wisdom of Allah and Man, because when it comes down to knowing what's going on, more that's up to us. Because we got the wisdom, the will, and the love. It's just a powerful thing, more than it's a powerful, powerful journey. And I love the way that the prophet brought it to us, because well, who made you? And when it comes to this right here, you don't have to look back at them slave masters. You ain't got to look up at them Europeans. You ain't got to look none of that, because it's the wisdom, the will. That's what I like about this special chapter, because it's dealing with the will of Allah in man. How did it get there? How did the will of the great God Allah get in man to start with? Well, that had to be the wisdom right there. And if you look at the title of the chapter, what is the meaning of the silence? That's the wisdom right there. That's the love coming all up in there. So more of this, the mighty, mighty mission for you talking the wisdom, will, and the love. It just, this is how it helped me to become the swift angel. Number one was with the wisdom, the will, and the love. So this is a powerful journey. Islam is without us together. We love you.
Islam, and you know the love is mutual, Act 1. We love you too. Islamism without the schism. Allah is leading on and victory is sure. Yeah, and we want to just encourage our Moorish kin, to stay on high, and keep the love alive, in spite of, so Islamism without the schism. And we're going to try to see, just for drawing a measure, if our beloved National Grand Sheik, is present. And if not, then we're going to take this demonstration up the way that we normally do and close out. So is our National Grand Sheik, Dr. Serapis Amin Ra, present on the board Moors that actually have the board. Well, all right. Well, we know our Sheik is most definitely.
No, yes, sir. I was just trying to see. I don't see it. Right about it.
Okay, Islam. Well, all right. January 15, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work in their homes or in the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. When these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government or the Prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their Prophet. If they lose confidence in their Prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, return to the state where I, the Prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet through the Drew Ali, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, pardon himself. And if the Prophet is not right, the government is not right. The Prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their Prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you already know we most definitely bring forth this divine decree. Chapter 25. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Yet the children of one father provided for by his care, and the breasts of one mother have given you some. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Go in peace, Muslims. Islamism without the schism. Praise be to Allah. Want to give honors to you, Islam, and we give honors to
Islam. We received it too.
gratitude. Islamism without the schism. Islam, more reciprocal help and mutual obligation. We love you. Want to give honor to our family showing up too. Islam. Islam to our family, Mustafa, Abdul, Mutakabir, El. Welcome back home, or Rodney Mizza. We give honors to you too. Sina Renee, we give honors to you. And honors to Jehudi, all of those who checked in on the social media. Peace and love. See y'all in Sunday school.
Grand class, family. Grand class. Sunday school.
See you in Sunday school. Peace and love.
There you go.
That's right. Where the guys and the gals of the nation arrive from, without the schism. Islam.
Peace and blessings, boys. Without the schism. Love you.
Love you, Moors.
Love you too. Love you, Mo.